Halloween.
Okay, Linda. Come on out.
Hello, I'm Thomas Carruthers. Oh, sorry, I let people introduce themselves now. Sorry, it's been a while. Ava Robinson is here. Oh no, you introduce yourself.
I'm Ava Robinson.
Yes. It's been a while. What, the last one, was there something about Mary?
Yes.
Yes.
But that was like summer 2020.
Yeah, the lockdowns. Yeah, the lockdowns. However, when it came to scheduling my Halloween programming, and I realized very quickly, well, I need to do Halloween and Scream. To put it plainly, I don't want to be killed in my sleep, so I invited Ava on to talk about Halloween and Scream. Halloween and Scream, two movies that we both adamantly love. Halloween begins our series. Scream will end it in 8 weeks or whatever it is. Two movies we just adamantly adore.
Despite their subsequent sequels and remakes.
This is what I was going to say. So, no, it wasn't last year, was it? Oh, was it last year? When did it come out?
What,
Halloween Kills, yeah.
Yeah, it was October 21.
October last year. So I spent, oh my God, just months and months watching all Halloweens and just delving so much into Halloween. And again, very similar with Scream, this past 2 months, I've just been watching all Screams all the time. I mean, I wrote articles about all the Screams. I don't know if they've come out yet. I know they did, because I did it in Synergy anyway. It's very weird that today, and this is our rule, we are only talking about 1978 and we are only talking about 1996, because specifically in the case of Scream, I'm a huge Scream 2 fan, and I know that you're not at all.
No, I'm not.
And Halloween, we were both very big fans of 2018.
And you're a big Season of the Witch fan.
I'm a big Season of the Witch fan. I'm a big Halloween 2 fan. I like Halloween 4. I like Halloween.
And we adore Halloween 2018, but we don't talk about.
Has your love of 2018 waned because of how terrible Halloween Kills was? Because I think mine might have, yeah.
Yes. Because I can't get out of my head just any Anthony Michael Hall.
And dare I say, it has no, it hasn't at all. Nothing will ever affect it. But I tell you what, it was one very specific moment when Laurie bumps into Sheriff Brackett and he goes, "Sorry, Laurie, everybody's entitled to one good scare." And, a great line in this film. But now all I can see is in Halloween Kills, him getting his gun out and going, "Hello, Michael. Everybody's entitled to one good scare." The most, just unbelievably bad moment I've seen in some time. And so, yes, this is our hard and fast rule, because especially with Scream, less so with Halloween, because 1978, original Halloween, is a perfect masterpiece. Not that Scream isn't, but is an absolute perfect masterpiece, and none of the rest get that close. For me with Scream, a couple of the Scream movies do get that close, but we're making a hard and fast rule starting now.
But honorable mention to the atrocity that is Halloween Kills, the detailing, and it's the best example with the mask itself of their recreation of 1978 in that opening flashback.
Yes.
Michael's appearance is faultless.
It was very, very good.
Yes.
And
then that's it.
To say that, like, in like, even to Halloween 2, the mask just looks so bad. I don't know how you can. I don't know how.
Let alone Halloween Resurrection, which growing up, that was my like treat at the movie store. We were like, Mum, let's watch Halloween Resurrection.
Was it your treat or was it your trick or treat, motherfucker?
Oh, we love Buster Rhymes.
Halloween. So, what is your John Carpenter? I can't even think. What is your John Carpenter mileage? Where does your love for John Carpenter begin? Well, I know where it begins here. Where does
it begins? I would say it begins and ends here.
Okay.
I've seen The Thing. I watched The Thing maybe when I was like 15 with my mum, and because she adores Kurt Russell in any form.
Another weird tangent. Have you watched Kurt Russell, John Carpenter, Elvis?
No.
I think, would that do it for you? Because you love Kurt Russell and you love Elvis.
I mean, maybe more so than the new Baz Luhrmann, Austin Butler.
You are supposed to be a star. How the hell? I'm sorry. I know nobody.
No, we're not talking about Tom Hanks, Tom.
No, but you know what I'm going to say, and it's going to annoy you even more. How the hell did Jared Leto get that much shit? The House of Gucci, and then they're just going to let Tom Hanks. You are a star. Anyway, we cannot do this tangent. But you are not invited to the House of Gucci. Tom's Widley's specific favourite part. Jared Leto died in poverty in London.
No, my really specific favourite part is just that like half pan around Adam Driver during the Ashes to Ashes montage. I fucking love it.
That was great. And the church organ becoming Faith. And all of House of Gucci. House of Gucci was great. Do not confuse a shit with chocolate. Anyway, I loved House of Gucci. Halloween 1978. Do you remember my mileage? Yeah, my mileage for John Carpenter goes further. I love The Thing, and I think
what?
No, I think The Thing is his best film. I think Halloween may be my favorite. Sorry, there are flaws in Halloween. There are.
I can think of a big one, and that is literally I've written one word for what's the change, but we'll get to that later.
I don't think I agree with you on this one. We've had this conversation before.
Care. I don't care.
Halloween. So at this point, John Carpenter is still quite an independent. I mean, this is still an independent filmmaker, but him and Deborah Hill, they end up writing this script, originally conceived as the Babysitter Murders, and then bit by bit they sort of start adding things in. Okay, let's make it Halloween. Just an ingenious idea that hadn't been done before. I don't know how anybody's and also you're not going to do it again. You can't do. I think by the fact that they named it Halloween, if this was still called The Babysitter Murders, but it was just set on Halloween, then Halloween's open for more and more horror movies. But the fact that they just was like, no, this is called Halloween. Sorry, mate, this is Halloween. Leads to this. The sort of commonly reported thing is that Deborah Hill sort of punched up all the teenager dialogue and all the sort of, because I think it can't really be underestimated to what extent. Well, actually, no, you disagree with me on this. But let's talk about luck. How lucky you have to be to get this film to the absolute status it is. A, happening upon John Carpenter, a director of such incredible skill. Happening upon Deborah Hill, an incredible producer who also brought this, young 70s female vitality to the female performances. Getting Donald Pleasance, somebody who doesn't wink once. There is no winking, there is nothing. He is so in on this performance. And if he was even... You
mean blink?
No, I mean wink. Like, he's not like, oh, this is a stupid horror movie, wink. Yeah. I mean, not literally winking. And then I don't know. Am I missing somebody else that they were really lucky to get at this time in her career?
We need to have a whole category just to talk about this woman. Why haven't you done this on this? Why have you never done a Jamie Lee Curtis series?
Well, because things have changed through the years.
Halloween,
yes, I know.
Fish Called
Trade in
Wanda,
places.
Knives Out.
We've done Fish Called Wanda. You were invited, but you were invited. It was on your hiatus. I'm busy with university work. I'm in the lead in a show or something. You were probably saying something like that. And I was like, sorry,
I think you mean shows.
Oh yes, of course. What was it? I offered you a drink on the opening night, and you said, I will not be expected to give that performance 6 times and have a drink. Great line. A quote from your dad. I asked, I was struggling for creative inspiration, so I asked Ava what sort of role she would want to play, and then your dad chimed in without missing a beat, the lead. Go on. What would the are you now going to say Christmas with the Cranks?
Christmas with the Cranks, Freaky Friday, True Lies.
No, I want to do a whole James Cameron. We've only done Titanic Cameron-wise, but then also I'd want to do Aliens before. Alien before, which means that we'd have to do a Ridley Scott series before. Anyway, things are all in flux. Everything's changing. Everybody should be happy that they're getting episodes at all. Will is struggling with the 4th year of university, and I've got a job. No, but the 1978 Halloween. Do you remember? Oh no, and we'll talk. Okay, let's do a broad strokes, Jamie Lee. Talk about the rest of her career, and then we'll return. We're doing all of this context, and then we'll go back to just 1978, where it all began. Obviously this is the peak for you, Jamie Lee wise, or is it? No, I don't know if it is.
What do you mean, out of all her performances?
Yeah, it's definitely not her best performance.
No, it's not her best performance, but I think it's weird. I mean, actually thinking about it right now and saying it as I'm thinking about it, I don't think, because this is her first one. It's not that it's not when I'm watching it, I'm looking at her and being like, oh, that's Jamie Lee Curtis, but because she is so young, and it's so encapsulated in the film itself. And yes, she appeared in however god many sequels of the Halloween universe, but I think the Jamie Lee Curtis that I love, in her later career, and yes, Fish Called Wanda was what, 88, 89?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
So that's just over 10 years later. But I think Jamie Lee Curtis, when I think of her in all the other movies that I love, as she, progressed in her career, I think that Halloween to me feels kind of separate.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not watching this, 18-year-old actress, and I'm like, oh, that's that's
Wanda.
What's her name? Linda Drysdale in Knives Out, 50 years later. No, I'm not thinking that. I don't equate them, even though it is the same amazing woman.
There's no humor in this, and I think it can't be underestimated just how fucking funny Jamie Lee Curtis is as a star. Wanda.
The central message of Buddhism is not every man for himself.
Love Fish Called Wanda, but
us recast as Otto and Wanda.
Come on, I modelled my entire life after Kevin Kline. Another man I've modelled my entire life after, Christopher Guest, who is obviously, when did they get married? Mid-80s? I think it's one of those things where they've always been together.
Yeah.
As she told us in her interview, she was like, I'm not a drug addict, I'm a dope fiend. I don't say drug addict, I say fiend. She posted something the other day where she was drinking in a roll on her Instagram, and she was like, don't tell my sponsor. I thought that was very funny. She's just an incredible woman. She's funny, she's brilliant, incredibly attractive in so many ways. And yeah, terribly, terribly serious when a dramatic role calls for it, as we find out here. And so it is, when you look at her storied comedic career of the 80s into the 90s, into now, obviously, it's weird to think of her as a scream queen, which she obviously was. Prom Night, this, Terror Train.
Terror Train.
Fog, Oh yes, we'll get to Terror Train. The Fog. But these are all sorts of, and I think it's a big, it feels weird to say that she elevated the role of the final girl Scream Queen, because in many ways, this is proto. This is before the glut of sequels.
They didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
You know, so they were creating an archetype that they didn't know was going to become an archetype.
But then they would sort of kind of go back. Well, no, actually, no, they don't. They don't really never go back in the final. It's elevation. She's absolutely perfect and flawless in this.
But I think it's because it was so unassuming.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, yeah, to an extent her performance, but as we say, because I agree completely that this was proto, not Plato.
No.
Yeah, and I think that's why it works. But here's the question, which obviously we can also talk about Neve Campbell a lot come Scream, but is she, yes, she's the original final girl, but is Laurie Strode the best final girl?
No, I think Sidney Prescott has my heart for always. And I know that we're making a hard and fast.
What about Happy Halloween, Michael?
No, she's not even holding a gun. She's in the fucking closet with the light on her.
Oh, yes,
and she's like, Happy Halloween. Oh, what the hell is this? Because in this, again, they're trying to ape a moment in this that is so simple and perfect. And it was just a little light. And John Carpenter was probably smoking at the time. And he's just like, let the light higher, 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 higher. Good, good, good. Can we see it? Deb, can we see him? Okay. But now it's this weird CGI zoom in, and it's a fake light on CGI. And again, it's what we're talking about here. Oh my God, the amount of things that just went right here for this little movie that budget $300,000, current box office up through the years, $60 to $70 million. And then obviously, as we talked about, it just makes the glut of slasher sequels of the 80s. But whereas when you look at all of those, people say that this is the first one, or at least people talk about Peeping Tom, people talk about Psycho, people talk about Black Christmas, but this is the one which very simply is killer, wearing a mask, killing innocent, beautiful women. And many of them have sex and are killed half-dressed.
Don't have sex.
Well,
you will get pregnant and die.
Mean Girls.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't know why I said thank you. What was I talking about the other? Who was the best performance in that? I mean, it's obviously Rachel McAdams, then it's Amanda Seyfried, then it's Lindsay. So I'm going to remove my point straight away. Who's the best male performance in Mean Girls?
Damien. I don't know the actor. I follow him on Instagram.
Oh, no. Tim Meadows is brilliant.
Yeah.
How many people do you have in your home? 6.
No, Damien is the best.
No, he is very good as well.
She doesn't even go here. I want to get into talking about the mastery of this masterpiece.
All right, Jack. All right. Yeah, 60 to 70 million. Are there any other broad strokes things we want to talk about? We talked about Carpenter. We talked about
first time watching it.
Yeah. Do you remember your first time watching it?
No.
I do. I do.
Okay.
And this is one of those weird things. I watched the first Halloween. Basically, I'd been recommended Halloween by my mum, and she was doing the nails of a woman. This was when my mum used to do nails before she got dermatitis. But then she was doing the nails of what can politely be referred to as a goth woman. And she was like, no. You need to watch the Rob Zombie Halloween. So I also bought the Rob Zombie Halloween. And I went to we were at my Auntie Becky's. And I think my mum was doing my Auntie Becky's nails. And it was like, sit in the front room, sit in the front room. And so I put on Halloween and my Auntie Becky set it up. So I watch all of Halloween. And the whole time, it's got this green filter on it. And the entire thing is green. And everything is tinted green. And Michael looks like he's wearing The Mask, Jim Carrey. And I'm like, okay, what is this choice? Why is everything green? And then my Uncle Gary comes home halfway, then I immediately put on Rob Zombie's Halloween, and there's this huge bare naked lady striptease scene, and I'm like, I'm trying to find the controller.
How old were you?
Young. We all know the answer to this.
Well, yeah, but like how young?
I don't know, 10-ish, 11-ish.
Okay.
And I was at my old home, so that would have been, I would have been 11 or 12-ish minimum. So I was what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So then my Uncle Gary shows up and he goes, Becky, why is the TV green? And he flicks it over. So I first watched Halloween with the worst, all green. And then 2 years later, I'm doing like a Carpenter marathon. And I'm like, oh, this is so beautiful. And the darks of this film and the oranges and the lights are so beautiful. It's so much better not being green, unlike what Kermit tells us.
Could do better.
I know, it wasn't great. So that was my first time watching Halloween. And
now I'm like, I'd say 80% sure I watched Halloween Resurrection before 78.
Wow.
And I don't know how it came about, because we never had Halloween on DVD, because my parents aren't horror, any horror genre. Yes, I would not say this movie is scary.
It is no, but I was alone the other day watching it in my room, in my house, and I turned it down a little. It was on 100, and then like I did turn it down to 80.
I forgot you're deaf. Honestly.
Wow.
No, so I do not know how Halloween Resurrection entered the mix. I think my brother had loved Nightmare on Elm Street and had the whole complete set of Nightmare on Elm Street. And then obviously that included Freddy versus Jason. So then had a couple of, the original Friday the 13th. So I'm yes, that makes sense. So it's the fact that he was into that, and I would say I was maybe 13. And obviously at the time, then it's like association. So when we still had our video store in town, given that he already had all of the Nightmare on Elm Street, then it was like the next thing. So, and obviously Halloween Resurrection was 2001, I want to say, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So it was, to us, that was the newest, because maybe we didn't watch
Rob Zombies 2007.
Yeah. So I think we were like, oh, and yeah, so that was more of like an interesting, shiny new thing, as opposed to like a movie from the 70s, because at that time,
and as a child, you loved Busta Rhymes.
Exactly. And Tyra Banks. So yes, I definitely watched Halloween Resurrection before 78, before any other movie.
The way it's meant to be seen.
Exactly. And yeah, it was like a really fun, I wasn't scared by it. It was fun because it's, like a contest, and but then obviously through watching it, I was like, oh, Jamie Lee Curtis dies at the opening. Anyway, we won't even talk about that.
Yeah, you don't like asylums, do you, on film?
Yeah. So like that, no, actually that opening scene stresses me out the most, I think, more than any chase scene in a horror movie like this. Even though he's just walking, I would fucking like jump off the roof.
What about 1978? What about like Drive to Smith's Grove? What is that spooky, or is it literally those sorts of like white halls and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, and just the fact that like, because even though he's walking, he's not like running after you like Leatherface with a chainsaw, but something that. And also, like, she like strategizes it, and she knows she's going to hide behind and then make it look like she jumped off the roof and then, like, get him. But just the fact that, like, you're running in these halls and, they're coming, and, like, what if the door doesn't open and you can't get out and you're just going to be trapped, or, up stairwells. And it's just, like, I think it's the infrastructure of it being enclosed. Like, I'd rather be in a field running somewhere with some guy like, you know, sprinting after me, like, and we'll talk about this when we get into the specifics of the scenes, but also with me having to hide in technically in sight or in close proximity with the killer and have to be silent, whether it's, you know, in the closet, which we see, and she can, and, you know, you can see him walking and you have to be there and be silent, and of course eventually the killer finds you and then you have to battle it out. Or if in Scream, you know, when Casey Becker is, you know, when she's outside and she's ducking behind and then she goes and then he turns and it's that great scream. Just any sort of enclosed hiding that you have to absolutely not make a sound.
Or the only good scene in Halloween Kills with Kyle Richards.
Yes, was I not like shitting a brick?
You were terrified. Yeah, you were terrified. Still have the bruises. Now the only.
I love Carl Richards. Carl Richards has my heart. I love her.
And
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Great show.
And her sister is in Assault on Precinct 13, isn't she?
Kim Richards was like Escape to Witch Mountain, like original 70s Disney movies.
But I think she's
they're both child actors.
Yeah, I think she gets shot in the face in Assault on Precinct 13 as a kid. That's the like inciting incident of Assault on Precinct 13. Carpenter's previous film, sorry. So they've got a Carpenter link.
Yes.
Let's talk about.
So then eventually when came to watch Halloween the original, I think it's probably a good thing that, you know, it was slightly delayed, because by that time maybe I was like 15 or something, and then I just fully appreciated it as the masterpiece it was, not as just another horror movie in a lineage of like some random slasher movie.
Yes, I think again it's that typical thing. You kind of see it with Lethal Weapon, or you kind of see it with Die Hard. Even Jaws to some extent, where it's like people will maybe watch this and they'll be like, oh my god, she's dropping the knife, oh my god, the calling, and they'll see all these cliches without reckoning with the fact that this is what started the cliches. And I think it's a weird switch in your head to do, that for many will probably just say no, they're still cliches. And obviously we'll get to Scream, which spends half of its run time deconstructing and you know, all that, subverting all these sorts of cliches, but it's a weird switch to make, from going, this is bad, it's so cliche ridden, this is good, it started many cliches. And I don't think some people will take that. And also, let's just say it plainly, this is just boring for people. I dare show it to, I don't even know, I definitely a Conjuring fucking audience.
Oh no, shit. And you know that is my big no-no when it comes to horror movies. I will say that I'm pretty much without fail solely limited to the slasher genre, and
yes,
with
you hate
that,
ghosts.
It's like I specialize in you know, original, you know, 70s, 80s, 90s slashers, because any you know, horror movie market, you know, now everything's just so paranormal. And yeah, like I've seen Paranormal Activity, I think, but anything possession, haunting, no, like zero interest. But then also you have something like Saw, which is not slasher, that's just straight up gore. I would rather watch that than paranormal shit. But to me, and everyone's different, I don't get any sense of enjoyment, or I don't value it, dare I say, cinematically, because I don't enjoy being that terrified. Because when I watch these films, I'm not terrified. I just, like you say, you know, and when I've watched it, or even watching Halloween 2018, if it's at night and I'm alone, you feel the sense of the suspense and it's the tone and atmosphere that I embrace. I don't, watching some like jump scare Conjuring nun that is gonna like give me nightmares and keep me awake at night, that gives me no viewing pleasure whatsoever. So that's why I don't.
I think I think when it comes to ghosts versus slashers, it's a very simple difference in that ghosts are scary because they can do absolutely anything. And slashers are scary because they're real. This is 1978. The year before is the Son of Sam killings. 2 years before is Ted Bundy. Serial killers have been, and Zodiac, the Zodiac killings.
Yeah.
Serial killers have become such a thing of the, not the mainstream, but the news media, and such a well-reported thing that, whereas, well, I mean, serial killers have always been a thing, but like they've never been this publicized or this famous, and suddenly it becomes a fear, a fear, not like sharks, like serial killers are not common, not like your Ted Bundys. And shark attacks are not that common, but a movie like Jaws and a figure like Bundy and Son of Sam and the Zodiac Killer in the 70s punctuates a myth, and Halloween apes that myth and brings great horror to it. Let's talk about the film. 10-minute stretch. Now, here, what are your nominations? And then we'll see. I feel, well, I think it's a very episodic film.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So what are your nominations for 10 minutes?
I literally played through it in my mind, and my honorable mention is I enjoy thoroughly. So maybe this would come, under more general favorite part of the film. But I thoroughly enjoy just the unassumingness of the entire walk back from school that afternoon. The three, Linda, Laurie, and Annie. All of that, but I think for me, it's the last 10 minutes of the film, like just without
undeniable. The whole thing is a powder keg burning match to that.
I just fucking, and then like I know it's this Tom's really specific favorite part of the film, but
the guests get one too.
Well, okay, I'll save it because I know without a doubt what mine is. Okay. Well, I've got a few. One of them is anytime. Anytime.
I have here opening scene.
It doesn't float my boat.
Okay,
I think it's genius, but I
Escape in the Rain, meeting Dr. Loomis as I love Laurie and I love Jamie Lee, but I think there are two kinds of Halloween fans. There are Laurie fans and there are Dr. Loomis fans, and I'm undeniably a Dr. Loomis fan. What are you going to give him? Thorazine? One that knock him out? That's the idea. Don't you think we can start referring to it as him? If you say so. And every single line. That is the letter of the law.
Remember when we watched that thing and he was just absolutely drunk?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, he was, yeah.
That is the letter of the law. Well, all of my favorite lines are Loomis, and most of my favorite specific moments.
What's your favorite line?
Lonnie, get your ass out of there. And then
I think that is my favorite line.
Major favorite part is after they run away and he just stands there smiling. And then Sheriff Brackett goes, it's just an absolutely hilarious 30 seconds. Lonnie, get your ass out of there. Smiles, bumps into Sheriff Brackett. It's like, oh, what an excellent film. Of the 10-minute stretches. I put here the Myers house at night, including Loomis's monologue. When I met him, he was a boy. And then Sheriff Brackett, more fancy talk. Sheriff Brackett, bad cop. Should we put out an APB? Should we say, no, don't see him on every street corner. What's the problem with that? Is that a bad thing? That, like, I guess we don't know what the mask looks like yet. No. So they're just going to be like, there's somebody in it, and then obviously,
it is Halloween.
Exactly. They kind of lean into that in Halloween 2 when Ben Tramer. You've never seen Halloween 2, have you?
No.
Ben Tramer gets plowed by a car because he's wearing the same Michael Myers mask. Yeah, poor Ben Tramer. Poor Laurie. You like Ben Tramer. Annie's extended death scene.
No.
Oh, Paul, please give me my keys, Paul. Bob and Linda. With you, okay. how do you feel about Linda? I know how you feel about Annie, which we'll get to in What's the Change. How do you feel about PJ Souls?
I think she's fine.
Okay. I agree. No, I agree. I just
no. I know. Yes, and you can also say that was the proto archetype of the, I hate to say it, but the slut, first to die.
I thought you were just going to say ditzy. I didn't know.
No. I'm talking about in a horror.
No, I know
movie,
you are. I know you are.
Girl who is the most promiscuous, open sexuality, has sex, and then shortly after meets her demise. So I think that, because it's so proto, there is a certain, like I say, unassuming, and it's not innocence, but it's not as if it's become a parody of itself where she's just like. But then, having said that, Rose McGowan in Scream, I think she has a nice edge to her in her performance, and obviously it's parodied and so it's like this lineage. But what I'm saying is that I think PJ Souls, even though she's embodying that archetype, I think it's still very unassuming and not offensive, but truthful, and isn't too outlandish. Like, it's not bigger than it is. Yes, it's still that archetype, but it's not a unrealistic parody of it, or it doesn't amp up more than needs to be.
I totally agree.
Totally.
And then this is sort of a 20-minute. No, it's not. Laurie finding everybody, walking over to the house, and Laurie finding everybody, and then running back over.
Oh,
Tammy!
Oh,
just throwing that plant pot. And go to the Mackenzies. Go! Do as I say. And then, as you say, the final stretch. Again, I just don't think people have the patience nowadays. This would be boring.
It's not, to me, it does not feel like a long, or even, it feels very, when I think of it as a movie, I'm like, oh, this isn't a long or enduring movie. But then when I watch it, I just have no sense of time. I think in terms of, we can talk about it in What's the Change, if you have any, in terms of, but I don't think any sequence, I don't think any sequence is overextended or unneeded. I think it has flawless flow. Now that I think about it,
I think it's less of a flow. No, it is the flow, but it's an atmosphere and a mood. The famous story is they screened it without the score, and it was boring, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is the worst film we've ever made." Oh no! And then John Carpenter wrote the score in 3 to 5 days, and the entire score in 3 to 5 days, and put it in. And then obviously everyone immediately said, "This is so scary, John." And he says, "I know." He smokes a cigarette. And then the final stretch. I think that unequivocally, we're agreed that no matter the nomination, the best is obviously the final 10 minutes. Yeah. Zed the Boogeyman. As a matter of fact, it was. Do you know who Bob was supposed to be, Ava? Or a possibility of casting of Bob? No. PJ Souls' boyfriend at the time, Dennis Quaid. You haven't seen Postcards from the Edge yet, have you?
No. Tom, we don't.
No, I'm not going to bully you, but he is incredible in Postcards from the Edge, and him and Meryl have great chemistry. That's Meryl Streep. Sorry, I don't know. If you know of her. Do you remember when we organised a whole fortnight of Meryl Streep movies, and then you were like, no. We have fun. Tom Swidler's specific favourite parts. I've put here, literal first frame and needle drop. Mustafa Akkad presents one of the best openings to a movie ever. Just black screen. And then that was more like Semper Fidelis. But and then into the pumpkin. And I how can you not be completely, you've got me for 90 minutes. Outline of Michael and the pumpkin, very subtle, but yes, that's that. The pull-out shot following the one-out scene, following the one-shot scene. Michael, even though it makes absolutely no sense.
No, I know. And when they just stand there, for me, I adore that long shot, adore. But that, yes, I allow it because yes, but then I'm just like, they wouldn't be stood there.
The problem is that the mother puts her hands in her pockets.
Well, no, and then she's like,
you need,
it's classic you acting, Tom.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Do the.
Ava famously, we had to do a fucking Zoom
and I said,
scene.
Tom, don't look at the camera. And he goes.
You said leave and make a noise. I believe you said leave and make a noise.
If you hear that when I say leave normally, then that's your own delusion. But it makes me smile now.
Yes, I was going to say, has there been any, is there, would there be another reason for you to rewatch that? Oh wait, because of you watch it every night and speak along with the lines and sing along with the song. Outline of Michael in the pull-out shot. Singing.
Michael in the bathroom.
Michael in the bathroom. Singing, I wish I had you all alone. And then the shoulder and the breathing. Yeah, and just the shoulder and the breathing. And oh, wonderful. Obviously, I've been listening to so many goddamn commentaries and podcasts and articles and stuff. What do you think's the inciting moment? Obviously, her coming to the house and leaving the keys. But is Michael hearing "I wish I had you all alone," and that's his instigator? And in this movie, because obviously years and years of different movies and different motivations, blah 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 blah. It's her sister. He wants to come home. He's going back to his home. 40 years.
All he wanted to do was come home.
Big John, Little John. Anyway, talk about.
That was, oh my, don't even talk to me about that.
Can you imagine if every time we introduced a character in this, they had an annoying flaw? They had an annoying trait, like in all the David Gordon Green movies. If like we met Sheriff Brackett for the first time and he had a sleep apnea mask and was drinking a bottle of red wine, or the first time we meet Annie, she's flying her drone helicopter, or the first time we meet Linda, she's, oh yeah, I bought this Asian wrap. I bought you what's your lunch look like? It's just 2 brownies and a bagel. Can you imagine? And then instead we just get simple. I forgot my French book, my history book, my English book. Hey, speed kills. Anyway, Tom's Whittler's specific favorite part. Oh, this is my favorite. I mean, yes, my favorite line is obviously, Lonnie, get your ass out of there. Yes. And his little smile. But do you remember? I think I've told you this. Do you know my second favorite line in the film? It's another Loomis line.
No. Haddonfield's
20 miles away. He can't drive. He's been locked up for 15 years. He was doing a very good job last night. Maybe somebody around here gave him lessons. And just sublime bit of not terrible writing, but just sublime bit of, hey, Deb, how can this kid drive? Say that somebody gave him lessons. Good idea, Deb. Kid getting grabbed by Michael, that's my biggest scare, is the bullying and then the kid running straight. And that's the first time we hear that theme. Well, no, it's not my biggest scare. My biggest scare is obviously in the final chase that.
What a fucking moment.
For our audio listeners, I moved my hand up. Speed kills. The smoke crossing across the screen in the bush prank moment, which I showed you the last time we watched it, which is just John Carpenter's smoke crossing the screen. Sheriff Brackett's intro. Hello, Laurie. It weirdly looks like Paul Lind. Michael driving behind Loomis outside the store robbery, I very much enjoy. The Thing, then watching The Thing. I don't know what came first, chicken or the egg. I don't know, because The Thing is 1982, so we're a long ways off. I don't know, anyway. Laurie crossing the street, hands in pockets, and it's just so ominous. We know full well what she's about to find out, and she just has this blissful ignorance about her. It's incredible. Bob swinging, no matter how impractical it is. People ignoring her as they bang on the doors. I often, when people say, what's the scariest, blah, 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 I always say this. Laurie banging and that woman coming to the window and just turning her lights off and ignoring her. That is the scariest part of Halloween. Not Michael, nothing else. The horror of suburbia. Just a little blue steel after that. And then the pop-up anytime he pops up. Ava, your weirdly specific favorite part, those little things that after years and years of watching, they're ingrained.
Okay, so anytime done.
Yeah.
For me, I think without, yes, I adore probably the most is those ending frames of the rooms. I just that for me encapsulates and is the perfect button for the entire tone and atmosphere that you've just been living in. I don't know. I think maybe it's something that I wouldn't thought I would feel so strongly about, but just bringing it back to those locations of those films that you've just seen. But as soon as you're out of the living room, you don't see it again once that sequence moves from the living room to upstairs, or just the shot of the houses, like literally and the stillness of it, when that all of those locations have just at one time or another inhabited this activity, and then it's just still, it's empty, it's quiet, as if nothing's happened. And just that call back to those, it's for me, that is perhaps not the climax, because obviously you just had a flawless final thing. And I think
it's an absolutely perfect, it's one of the best horror movie endings of all time. It's one of the best endings of all time.
Yeah, and I just think it's the perfect button, and that is probably the most, I feel like that's the heaviest weight I feel under the atmosphere of the movie. But another specific moment that just precurses that is the shot of him gone off the lawn and the theme starting up. That is fucking cinematic mastery. I like that.
I would say I love Halloween 2, and I really enjoy Halloween 3. I like parts of Halloween 4, and I really enjoyed Halloween 18. Every single time I see that final minute, I wish there was never a single frame of Michael Myers for the rest of my life. I wish that was, and I know that all these fucking movies have oh, he's alive, Freddy getting pulled. Every single Halloween movie has it, but it's never been bettered.
No, I know.
And again, I say this all the time. It's my favorite phrase, and I'm sure people will mock me if these ever become famous. It strives in its simplicity. It is not Freddy coming, smashing his hand through the window and pulling that dummy of the mother through. It's not it's not the child of Jason popping out of the woods and he's got all this makeup. Oh, he is not. He was there. He's not there.
I know.
Where is he? And the minute Halloween 2 starts and he's like wandering around and he's like, oh, I got shot. It's weird because it's the only time we actually hear him speak. He says, oh, I got shot. No, I'm kidding. But, oh, God, anybody got any blasters? You sound weirdly like a Bronx guy. But the minute that, every time I see this, the final moment, it's never been bettered. It never will be bettered. It strives in its simplicity, and it's the biggest argument for them never making a single fucking film again.
I know.
And that's that. Maybe Halloween Ends will have a similarly beautiful ending. I doubt it.
Yes, so that definitely takes cake. But then also I wrote down not like a specific moment, but I enjoy Laurie being picked up by Annie, because I think that's, you know, as soon as she has that costume change or wardrobe change, that, you know, you then enter the act for the evening, you know, because it's not dark yet, so you haven't entered the final act, but you know that this is okay, you know, it's the iconic outfit. You know, it's later on, you don't have all the innocence of school and talking about their plans. It's now, you know, and I think that one of the things I adore so much about this is that representation of, you know, teenage. And for me, it is nostalgia. You know, this was probably the biggest thing I talked about in my love for Dazed and Confused, but in a way, and yes, it's another 70s teen movie, but I think it's that callback to, for me, it's sentimental, you know, when you're a teenager, and it can transcend time, because there's something timeless about, you know, on a Friday night, you know, walking home from school with your friends, and then, you know, you've got plans for the night. So whether that's, you know, getting brutally killed by a masked murderer, or whether that's going to a, you know, party at the Moon Tower, there's something, you know, timeless about it. And to me, because it's the anticipation, that's what I love about it, because it's the build up. You're talking about your plans, and then, you know, you agree a time to get ready, and then, you know, when she sat outside with a big pumpkin on the porch, and, you know, I could just talk about American suburbia for, like, I could write essays about it and all of its guises. But I think that and then when she gets picked up by Annie, not my favorite conversation in the car, but even the tracking shot in the back of the car, and them talking about, and then it gradually gets darker, let alone the fact that Michael's following them,
which was a reshoot, because they realized that when they got in the car it was bright, and then when the next scene, when they're dropping off, it was pitch black, and they were like,
I know, yes.
Oh, maybe we need to show it getting darker.
but just that, and yeah, obviously then you learn more about Laurie, and, you know, the admittance of Ben Tramer, and that is, it's a sweet conversation, and just something about driving in a car in the suburbs, just floats my boat. And to me, I adore that. So that's a slightly larger specific part.
And here it's used to devilish lulling, let's call it that, lulling into sensibility.
And then final thing is her banging on the door, screaming for Tommy as Michael was getting closer and closer and closer. Which is like, the key.
And it's the only time we really see him pick up a speed.
But that, like, if he was running, yes, you wouldn't have a movie, because he would get to her. But that's why you don't need all the theatrics, because that's suspense. It comes part and parcel. It would not exist if Michael had anything more than that pace. And just her screaming on the door and, like, screaming Tommy, and, you know, he's just woken up and he's like, yeah, and it's that split second every time. I'm like, how they cut it this close? Like, I fully expect and actually it teeters on the line of me thinking there's no way he was, you know, given how close he was, he would have at least been able to grab her, or not you know, block the door once she goes in. She wouldn't have time to close it.
Yeah, I would say.
But just that.
And the plant pot. I always forget that she throws the full plant pot up. Good arm on Laurie. Next up, we've got Soundtrack Corner. We touched on it before. I don't think it really can be underestimated.
Never.
How, like, let's talk about people who write their own music and direct and write. Charlie Chaplin, Clint Eastwood, John Carpenter. I'm trying to think of one I'm missing. And Clint Eastwood doesn't really write that much. It's a very small field. And when people talk about auteur theory, it's always like writers and directors, and it's like, yeah, Tarantino's an auteur. You know what a Tarantino movie feels like. But there is something very specific about Carpenter as an auteur, because he does the music as well, and he produces, and it just feels, all of his movies feel like these huge packages of pure Carpenter. Is there a specific, I mean, we could genuinely have a full hour conversation about the music itself. However, I'm going to be very specific, and I'm going to be very strict. Is there a specific theme that you enjoy most?
It has to, like, obviously I'm thinking about Laurie's theme, but no, it has to be the theme, yeah.
Oh, the Halloween theme.
Yeah, the Halloween theme. Yeah.
I think I'd have to go the Shape Stalks. I think I'd have to go for dun, because I always forget how late until we actually hear the thing. Because like by the time that we get like half an hour in, they've played the main theme twice, they've played Laurie's theme 3 times, and they've played the other sort of music multiple times as well. And you're like, okay, John, all right, off the brakes a little.
Honorable mention to Halloween 2018, the revamped whatever, when the kid gets impaled on the fence, and then Alison stood there, and then he steps and is like, yeah.
That was very good.
That was great. So
I believe that's called The Shape Hunts Alison. Or maybe I'm completely wrong. Where are we next? Best single minute, opening credits. Loomis leaving Smith's Grove. He's gone from here. The evil is gone. He's gone from here. The bullying. That's a rather cruel single minute. Hey, the boogeyman's gonna get you. The graveyard scene.
What happens on Halloween?
The graveyard. I can't wait for Halloween ends where we find out that he's still. All 3 of those are still in Haddonfield, and oh Jesus Christ. The graveyard scene with Judas Tombstone, and then as we've just talked about extensively, the final minute, the final minute. Any nominations for best single minutes, Ava?
All I have written is final minute from when the theme plays again, when you don't see him.
Yeah, and then
and
slowly
Loomis looking up at the sky, Laurie just going, and then
best line. It's Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare, Laurie.
I'm not a fan of
Sheriff Brackett. Sheriff Brackett.
Of it was the boogeyman. I'm not mad at it, but that for me doesn't do it. Like, yeah. So all I have is Lonnie, get your ass.
Lonnie, get your ass. Death has come to your little town, Sheriff. I'm a big fan of that one. You fooled them, haven't you,
I love
Michael?
Loomis going, he's gone! The evil's gone!
The evil's gone from here! I shot him 6 times. Obviously, that's the big quote from Halloween 2. I shot him 6 times. Big fan of Loomis, as we've already talked about. And the Devil's Eyes. That whole monologue is extremely excellent. What's the change? Right, I'm going to clear the floor. You talk about Annie, because I think she's quite fine.
No, I literally just have Annie.
What
Not
is
the character? Who's the actress?
Her name is her name is what? My name
Isn't her name Linda something?
Her name is Nancy Kies.
Nancy, yes. I think, and my mum actually feels the exact same, because also I should have mentioned in my first introduction, my mother saw this in the cinema in 1978.
Oh my God.
And was scared shitless, and she still will refuse to watch it, even though I like talked to her extensively about how, Mum, it's not a jump scare, it's the atmosphere, it's the tone, it's a cinematic masterpiece. She's like, I don't want to hear it. So yes, that was another background into my introduction to the film. But I think maybe when I had it on once and it was a scene, it must have been the walking back. No, I'll tell you exactly what scene it was. It's when Nancy is on the phone with Laurie when she's babysitting, and Carl Richards is watching the TV, and she's like, I've got some news for you, Laurie. Guess who I just got off the phone with and wants to take you out? And she was like, she is absolute shit. I think I'm not a fan of her acting. You've
made me hate her. You've made me dislike her more, I have to say.
So I think it's bad acting. I think it's a bad performance. It's not. Yes, she's the most prickly of the 3 of them, and Linda and Laurie fit into very opposite archetypes, which fine. They don't do anything wrong with those performances. So I'm not saying there isn't room for a more liminal or mixed character of Annie. I'm not mad at the role. I just really do not like her performance, because I think that it's because it's not, but like her performance, it's just her delivery is just not, I don't find it realistic. It's yeah, she's doing this whole like snarky thing, and it's not bitchy, but the way that she delivers it, it's like she's deadpan, and she's actually kind of nasty. It's like she doesn't actually say anything.
It is quite horrible.
Yeah, like and yeah, maybe she's, because obviously she's the most outspoken, like hey jerk, speed kills. So I'm not saying that that's unrealistic for a female character to say, but just her delivery is just so off.
I can see that. You've made me dislike her more, I have to say. Because every time I'm like, oh, she's not that bad, I hear you clawing in my ear going, no, she's terrible. What's the change? Looking at his hands in the opening shots, I know that they have to get the blood on her boobs, so they have to cut away, but it's just like, oh, hello, my hand, and then he goes back in. The quickest sex of all time with Judy's boyfriend. And then I was thinking, wait, did they have sex? And then I was like, oh no, they definitely, because his shirt's entirely off. And she's entirely naked. Maybe it was like in SNL, Mr. Koenig. Currently, we're my shirt and jacket off, her shirt and jacket on. So you're naked.
She's fully clothed.
Tell God, gracias. I've always found, you want to know the performance that's always stuck out to me is bad. Leave the keys at the Myers place, Laurie. The dad. I don't know what it is. He's just always been off on that first line. You only want to go there to have a place. Shit. I don't like this, Annie. I have a place for that. Yeah. Scares are all great, but why is there for some of them? What? Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. So all the times Michael's there, and she like sees Michael. Yeah, they're all incredible and they're all deeply unsettling. But what is he doing?
What, in the laundry?
In the laundry is the worst one because it's edited badly, and it doesn't have a moment where Laurie looks away. That one's just a genuine editing mistake. Another editing mistake is Loomis not seeing the car next to him the entire 3 hours. I'm going to stay here. Okay, good plan. Good plan, Loomis. The clothesline disappearance doesn't make any sense yet. Bob leaving the door open, carrying Linda out. He's just going to leave his door open on his car, just wide open.
It was the 70s, man.
It's the 70s, man. I wanted to have sex with PJ Souls, man. I didn't care. Bob's knife holding him up. Oh yeah, again, the Bob kill, incredible, but it doesn't. It's completely illogical. And then,
what about the head turn?
How many times on a scale of 1 to 10 has Michael Myers turned his head now in all the sequels? On a scale of 1 to 10, and then finally dropping the knife, which is a huge thing, and I think the biggest service that Kevin Williamson gives Halloween in his script, in his Scream script, is it's just stupid. It's just insulting. It's just a big-breasted woman who runs up the stairs instead of running out of the front door. It's insulting. And then immediately she runs up the door, because when you are being chased by a serial killer, you have no idea what you're going to do. And I think that one perfect line.
The door's locked.
Sorry?
Sydney's door. She locked her door.
Oh, right.
But then Ghostface was already in the house.
It's one of those things where it's like, when people talk about the knife, I don't get annoyed, but it's like, I think the big problem is that when she's stabbed him in the living room, she makes such a big throw down of it. She's like, eh. And it's like, what would you do? Sure, what would you do? But also, she shouldn't like throw it down. What's next in this little show we do as we wind down? That's from Hamilton, isn't it? As we wind and dine. Have you watched Hamilton yet?
Wine and dine.
Don't watch
what?
Hamilton. I watched Hamilton.
I saw it pre-COVID.
Oh, what did you think? It's fine, isn't it? Any other changes?
No, I just wrote Annie.
A few fun facts. Here we go. We know most of these people know all of this sort of thing, like the William Shatner mask. Obviously, they do as a William Shatner mask. He was either that or a clown mask, and they shaved the eyes, and they did the eyes bigger, and they shaved the hair, and they dyed the hair, and they made it whiter. All that sort of thing. Everybody knows all this sort of thing. Some things you might not know. Originally, the Babysitter Murders script had the events over multiple days. However, low budget made it one day. Perfect ticking time bomb is one of those perfect mistakes again. Jamie Lee Curtis was the only teenager of the three teenagers. John Carpenter's intent with the character of Michael Myers was that the audience should never be able to relate to him. Okay. It does work as an absolute complete cipher. Obviously, The Thing, everybody knows that because it's very, very obvious. Everybody sort of knows all of these things. Something you might not know. The final Donald Pleasance look, they shot it two different ways because Donald Pleasance was of two minds. Do you want me to react as if I'm shocked or react as if I'd known all along that this was going to happen? And they shot it both ways and they edited between, and it's wonderful. It's really, really good. Michael Myers' full name is mentioned in the television of the film, Michael Audrey Myers. Ma'am. Yeah, so, here's funny. For years after Halloween was released, people would tell writer and director John Carpenter how horrified they were by Michael Myers' grotesquely disfigured face, glimpsed when Laurie pulls his mask off. But actually, all they saw was the ordinary face of the actor Tony Moran, perfectly normal except for the small knife wound inflicted by Laurie during their struggle. Carpenter cites this as evidence of the power of suggestion in cinema, that the audience saw a monster on screen, so assumed he must look like a monster underneath the mask. Ooh. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill have stated many times over the years that they did not consciously set out to depict virginity as a way of defeating a rampaging killer. The reason why the horny teens all die is simply that they are also preoccupied with getting laid, that they don't notice that there is a killer at large. On the other hand, Laurie Strode spends a lot of her time, you know what, being a good babysitter. I think it's an underrated trait amongst kids these days, being a good babysitter. PJ Souls admitted in a recent interview, she's Linda and I'm Laurie. Talking about Jamie Lee Curtis, saying that she was more of a reclusive homebody and that Jamie Lee Curtis was more of a bubbly cheerleader. That doesn't really surprise me. John Carpenter has mentioned in the past that he based Michael Myers on Yul Brynner's robotic assassin character from Westworld, a similarly robotic figure. John Michael Graham, who played Bob in Halloween, also appeared in Grease that same year. He can be seen briefly as a dancer at the end. So next time you watch Grease, keep an eye out for Bob. Here's a few taglines. So I'm going to read you the taglines. This is new. You've got to pick me the best one. The trick was to stay alive. The night he came home. Perfect.
Yep.
He's come back. He came home for Halloween. Everyone is entitled to one good scare. Fine. Trick or treat or die. No.
I prefer trick or treat, motherfucker.
Trick or treat, motherfucker. I think undeniably it's the night he came home.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, so I just saw my screen quotes. We'll get there in a moment. Tom's big question. Loomis finding the van and the clothes. Doesn't inspect just like an inch further, mate? Just look a little bit over. Just look a little bit over and you're going to find that guy. It's a dog. It's still warm. He got hungry. Michael eats a dog? What the hell is happening there?
Yes.
Best kill. I think it's got to be Bob. If you can look past the fact that this is the strongest knife in the world, then you can get it. I was going to say, sorry. What's your favorite kill?
I think it's not Annie, even though I take great pleasure in
I was going to say, surely that's your favorite.
Linda.
Get your ghost.
The dog makes me sad. And yeah, that's pretty. Don't care about the gas station.
No. I was going to ask, who is your MVP performance? However, I don't think we can litigate a 10-minute conversation where you fight for Laurie and I fight for Donald Pleasance.
Yeah.
I think Pleasance adds an intense gravity. I think they are both tied. Let's say a tie.
Very diplomatic.
I think Pleasance gets the nod because he was the old horse who they kept dragging out for those first 6 movies.
Yes.
Until he died during the filming of Curse. Oh, poor Donald. I don't know what else to do. That's it, isn't it? Any final thoughts on Halloween before we enter the world of Scream?
For me, I think that it was just because something was the first doesn't make it the best.
I would say it was the first, and it's still the best. That would be the way I phrased it.
I was going to say it's not me saying, oh, it's the first. It imagineered everything. It's therefore it's the most iconic. But no, in this case, it is the best. I think that without this, it birthed and defined the slasher genre, and I think that it still stands the test of time. Needless to say, it's not immune to spanning all of these, blockbuster sequels that, yes, provide great box office earnings, and it's this legacy. But to me, I don't, that's by the by to me. I don't care. I think this movie is a flawless piece of cinema. And the fact that it spanned all of this other, stuff, great. But for me, it's I don't care.
I don't know what else to add. I agree with you completely. And all I can add is that we are whores and gluttons for punishment, and we'll be there opening night for Halloween Ends. That's all I can say. This is just stop lying to yourself.
I know. We, that's all we are. We love punishment. Halloween 2018 was fantastic. It restored
I
my
was
faith.
so trepidatious, I have to say. Going into that, I was very trepidatious. And then it was good. So then going into Halloween Kills,
I know.
we were so high.
Ready.
And it was boosted by COVID. We were so close. And that first teaser, let him burn. I was like, oh, come on.
I know.
Come on.
I know. But then that sitting in that movie, I was speechless on the drive home. I said, was that it? And it was just so haphazard, so just in every kind of way, just a terrible sequel, a terrible answer, a terrible continuation of that storyline. So yes, has it shattered my faith for Halloween Ends? Yes.
Completely.
Has it shattered my faith for that trilogy? Yes.
Completely, yeah. Unless this one's, anyway, it won't be good.
Unless it's a Return of the Jedi situation in which the third installment is the best out of the trilogy.
You are just trying to make this episode 20 minutes longer. You are just trying to bait me into this. Ends now. Evil dies tonight. I'm Michael for 40 years. Oh my God. I'm going to tell you a story. Hi, welcome to this. Yeah. Welcome to your fun karaoke night. The last guy did a puppet show, did a puppet comedy song. Now I'm going to tell you the story of 4 trauma victims. And Marion. Marion Chambers was also there. She was in that car.
Lindsay Wallace.
And Lani. Everybody remember Lani? Let's say it together. Let's end the episode. 3, 2, 1. Lani, get your ass out of there.
Da ba da ba da ba da da.